Good evening from Fox News Election Night headquarters here in New York City. I'm Britt Hume. After 2 years of campaigning, it all comes down to this. Polls close soon in the first batch of states that will decide the next president of the United States. Here is the map we'll be keeping an eye on all night. Right now it's blank, as you can see, but it will soon be colored in with red and blue, depending on which candidates win which states, eventually getting the 270 electoral votes necessary to win this election. Our decision team is analyzing the numbers from polls and precincts across the country, and as soon as they tell us, we'll tell you. Megyn Kelly will monitor the exit polls and report what's going on behind the voting. Greta Van Susteren and Judge Andrew Napolitano are at the ready for any legal challenges that may be arising. And we have Michael Barone looking at key counties and trends, and Chris Wallace with Karl Rove standing by to analyze the data as we get it and to tell us about the key Senate races as well. Brett Baer will be reporting on the fight for control of the House and the balance of power on the Senate in Capitol Hill. Carl Cameron is with the McCain campaign in Phoenix. Major Garrett is following the Obama campaign in Chicago. And we have a team of reporters around the nation. We'll check back with them all as the night progresses. Polls close in several battleground states in just a few minutes. But first, we turn to Bill Hemmer to show us the big picture. What's at stake for the states about to close? Ways you see the clock tick down to 7 o'clock straight up, and we're going to be able to tell you a couple of things. First, some results here. In the state of Vermont, now this is no surprise at all, Fox News projects that Barack Obama will carry that state. In the state of Kentucky, a border state, never really in doubt or contested this year, we project John McCain, the winner in the state of Kentucky. Georgia, a state where Barack Obama was thought to have a real chance, too close to call. Virginia, a state everybody's watching, too close to call at this hour. Similar situation in South Carolina. We rate that state too close to call as well. The same thing for Indiana presidency. However, we are able to tell you something about the race in Indiana for governor. And Fox News projects that the incumbent Republican Governor Mitch Daniels, a former Bush budget director, will win over Jill Long Thompson. This is the second time, I believe, that they've faced off in this race. And Daniels appears to be able to carry the state, and we can call it right at this hour. He had a pretty good lead. So let's take a look at our map and see from these results what we can tell about our electoral votes. Now, we've called 2 states, and we'll be updating that. That's the map we'll be looking at. Those the first states we've called have not yet appeared there, but they will, as we noted earlier, soon. And you'll also be able to watch throughout the night the electoral count accumulate on the left-hand side of that very large screen over there on the wall. In the meantime, we also have the exit polls to look at, and let's turn to Megyn Kelly for what she's seeing in the exit. In the meantime, let's go back to that electoral map that we're told you about. We're very proud of it because it's very big, as you see with Megyn, and we've got some updated numbers. This is very exciting. You can see that the state of Kentucky there is filled in red. That means, yes, McCain has won Kentucky. And you can see up on the left in the northeast that the state of Vermont has gone to Barack Obama. So split between the 2 states. And then down in the left-hand corner of the map, although we'll need to widen out a little bit to see it, you'll see that we've actually been able to update the electoral vote tally. And as you can see right now, John McCain is leading 8-3. So an early lead for John McCain in the Electoral College. Obviously, those numbers won't last long. I don't mean the direction, but they're just a little bit. So yeah, we're about 12 seconds away from the magic time, and we'll be able to give you a few. We have a state we're going to be able to call. Isn't that exciting? Because there's an awful lot at this hour that's too close to call. We are, I think, appropriately skeptical of the exit polls. It's now 7:30 here on the East Coast, and Fox News projects that John McCain has carried the state of West Virginia. This is no big surprise, but nonetheless, it's a state he clearly has to have. Now, turning to North Carolina, which became a battleground state, we rate it too close to call. Ohio, a critical battleground state, especially for John McCain, we rate that too close to call as well. Similar situation in Georgia. Georgia is a state which became a late battleground state. Should have been easily red, but John McCain had to fight for it, still too close to call. And here's some states we've looked at before. Virginia, still too close to call. Same deal. South Carolina, too close to call. And Indiana, a state which we've been talking quite a lot about, also too close to call. We do have a call to make, however, in the West Virginia governor's race. This is for the incumbent Democratic candidate, Joe Manchin, the incumbent governor there. He was quite popular. That was never considered a close race. It is a hold for the Democrats there. So But what about the Senate? There are Senate races at stake, and a number of them tonight, 35 in all. Chris Wallace has a... So let's quickly recap the states we've been able to call. We've called the state of Kentucky a win for John McCain. We have called the state of Vermont, which should appear there. There it is, for Barack Obama. Neither one of those is a surprise, and neither really is this next one, the state of West Virginia, which we also called for John McCain. That gives him now on our board a total of something like, 14 electoral votes or something like that. No, it's 13 electoral votes to 3 for Barack Obama. Obviously, that's going to change a lot and fairly soon. We have one more state to call, though, for John McCain, and this is the state of South Carolina, where the polls have been closed for some time now, so that adds another few electoral votes to the McCain. This isn't a surprise. On the other hand, if it had gone the other way, that would have been a surprise. Anyway, so onward and forward. Nina. So, Chris, you're going to send it back to me, so I get to vamp for 15 seconds. So because you can't take it. An anchor man sitting here at the anchor desk on election night. It is now 8 o'clock on the East Coast. Polls are now closed in 15 states, worth a combined 171 electoral votes. We call Massachusetts, no surprise here, for Barack Obama. We also call Barack Obama. That also not a surprise. His home state of Illinois, not a surprise, but a big state for Obama. The District of Columbia, this is really not a surprise for Obama. Connecticut, Barack Obama. Maine, Barack Obama. New Jersey, Barack Obama. Delaware, Joe Biden's home state, Barack Obama. Oklahoma, not a surprise here either, John McCain. So what remains too close to call with all these states? North Carolina remains too close to call. Ohio remains too close to call. Virginia remains too close to call. Georgia remains too close to call. So likewise does Indiana. So does Florida at this hour, although the polls, of course, closed there. And Missouri is too close to call. And the big prize, really, if you're a strategist for McCain, Pennsylvania, too close to call. That's a state that McCain made a last-minute effort in to offset possible losses in states like Virginia and Indiana, should he lose either or both of those two. Now you see that the electoral count has changed around. Barack Obama there, the left-hand side of your screen, now with 77 electoral votes to John McCain's 28. That's really a function of the size of the states that have closed. Many big ones yet to come. Plenty of possibility, at least, possibility for that to tighten. So, Chris, back to you. I hope you can do a better job of filling this segment out now with these Senate calls. They gave me a little bit of a rest. We have another state to call for John McCain. Again, not a surprise. The border state of Tennessee goes for Senator McCain. And we continue to watch these states that remain too close to call. One of the big ones, of course, is Ohio. And Megyn Kelly has been analyzing the exit poll numbers there. Just briefly here, we got another projection we can make from the presidential race. We now project, Fox News projects Barack Obama the winner in New Hampshire. And that was a state that was looked like it was leaning his direction, but it was not thought impossible for John McCain to win there. So that's a bit of bad news for him, a bit of good news, not big, but important perhaps for Obama. Bill? We're coming up on 8:30 here in just a few seconds, so let's take a look before we do. There's some poll closings to report when we do at the electoral map as we now see it over on the wall here. And as you can see, the Obama lead now in electoral votes is expanded to 103 to 39, and we're about to expand it even further because we're now calling Pennsylvania for Barack Obama. This is a very hard one for the McCain camp to swallow tonight because it bet on Pennsylvania as a place which, if it could just steal it and put it in the blue column, it could hold off the Obama surge in other areas and perhaps afford to lose a few red states. Now that possibility is taken away, and the situation for Obama has markedly improved. It is now 8:30. Polls have closed in a number of places. We declare the state of Arkansas will go for John McCain, and we're now going to, and as you noted, we've called Pennsylvania already for Obama. North Carolina, though, too close to call. Virginia, also still too close to call. Pennsylvania, as we've noted, it says too close to call there, but we now have called that. Ohio, we're still too close to call. Missouri, likewise, too close. Same deal with Florida. Same deal still with Indiana. Same with Georgia. All of those states remain too close to call. But the big one, of course, is Pennsylvania, where, as we've noted, a major effort was made by the McCain campaign during the closing days on the hopes of an upset there. So So now, for a word on how the Senate races that we'll be looking at, where the polls have closed at 8:30, let's turn to Chris Wallace.
A guesstimate, but it looks like
we have a call to make. Megan, sorry to interrupt you there. We are now calling the state of Georgia for John McCain. So McCain folks can keep hope alive based on the fact that Barack Obama did not manage what would have been quite an upset in the state of Georgia. And on that note, we're going to take a break. Much more to talk about on the other side. We'll go to Brett Baer and talk about the balance of power in the Congress. Stay tuned. All right, we've got this thing we're calling the launch pad that you heard Megyn Kelly going on about. We're very proud of it, so we want to talk about it a lot. So there you see all the states that have gone for McCain are in red, and all the states have gone for Obama in blue on the right, and then on the left, you got the tally of, first of all, you got the popular vote, which is about tied now. That doesn't mean very much at this stage. McCain's slightly ahead. But in the Electoral College map, which is, of course, all that matters, it's 103 for Obama, and John McCain has 69 electoral votes. Not over yet, but Obama has a lead now.
I gave you 2 minutes, and I thought that wasn't cool.
You were doing great there. I thought I was cheering you on, and all of a sudden you just stopped. Well, we're, what, 10 seconds away now from the... And there's a hole sitting here, vamping, as we call it. You're going to want to wait around. And what do we just... We've got 15 states the polls have closed, and we call Wisconsin now. We believe that Barack Obama has carried the state of Wisconsin, unless I'm mistaken. We don't have the check mark next to his name, but disregard that. New Mexico, we call for Barack Obama as well. That was a Bush state, so that's a switch into the Obama column. North Dakota, we believe John McCain will hold on there. The Obama forces really thought they had a chance out there. We think McCain is hung on there. We also believe that he is hung on, as I guess we've told you before, in the state of Kentucky. Let's look at this next one. This is interesting. This is... We seem to be stuck on this board, and we'll wait for it to switch. There we go. Minnesota, Barack Obama carrying Minnesota. That should help Al Franken a bit in his Senate race out there. New York, no surprise there, though. It's a huge state. Rhode Island, Obama, no surprise there. Michigan, Obama. That was not a contested state in the latter stages of this campaign. And Wyoming, a state that I don't think Barack Obama ever went there, and that's a state that John McCain seems to have carried fairly easily. North Carolina, we're still looking at that as too close to call. Similarly, Virginia, even though it's now been 2 hours since the polls closed, still too close to call. McCain ahead a bit there. Ohio, it looks too close to call. You see Obama enjoying a lead of a couple of 100,000 votes, but that's early. Oh, no, we're calling it for Obama. Excuse me. Ohio for Obama. All right, there we go. Missouri, still too close to call. Florida, let's look and see whether they've called it or not. Nope, they haven't called it. Still too close to call. Indiana, a state Republicans used to own, too close to call 2 hours after the polls closed. We did not call Ohio. I apologize, folks. I'm told that we are not calling Ohio, that the check mark was misplaced. Maybe it was the one that was supposed to go to Wisconsin that ended up in Ohio. But, we got a lot of maps and stuff to fool around with here tonight, so you don't, every now and then somebody puts a check in the wrong place, and look what happens. So, obviously, this is looking better and better for the Obama campaign, so let's check in now with Major Garrett to hear what he's hearing. It is probably dawned on the viewers by now that we think that this set that we have, in particular this thing called the launch pad we have here with this enormous screen next to it, is pretty cool. So we thought, well, Megyn Kelly's done a lot with it. Why don't we see what Karl Rove could do?
Oh, no, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Here we go.
We're in trouble. Well, look, battleground states right here. Here are the states that have been called thus far. West Virginia for McCain, New Hampshire and Pennsylvania for Barack Obama. In order for McCain to win, he needs to basically win virtually all of these, to win every single one of these states, to win most of these states and not lose too many. If he loses, well, if he loses Ohio, he goes from 286, which the Republicans carried in 2004, down to 266, and that puts him below the 270 threshold to win the White House. So he'd not only need to sweep the rest of these states, which were won by the Republicans in 2004, he'd also need to pick up something as well.
Guess what, Karl? I've just received word that the state of Ohio has gone for Barack Obama, which pushes, as you just pointed out, John McCain down to, even if he wins all the rest of these, he gets to 266.
That's right.
So he has unless something miraculous happens in one of these non-battleground states.
That's right.
McCain's situation is right now looking pretty dire.
Right. In order for McCain to win, if Ohio ends up in Barack Obama's column tonight, then what he has to do is pick up a state that was won by the Democrats in 2004 on the West Coast, or Michigan, which is still yet to be called, Washington, Oregon, or California or Hawaii, which are particularly Hawaii and California highly unlikely.
So this is the kind of thing that was thought might occur on this election night, that we would have McCain hanging on to some of these red states, not making any real inroads, not flipping any state from blue to red, and Obama making the kind of inroads we've begun to see in some of these states, New Mexico being the best example right now, and now Ohio. Ohio is the big one, isn't it? Ohio has been the linchpin of Republican election success going back a long time.
No Republican has ever been elected while losing the state of Ohio, and already tonight, by losing 5 electoral votes in New Mexico, Senator McCain went from the 286 that were won in 2004 to 281. This now drops him down to 261. He'd have to win, depending on which states, 1 or 2 states on the West Coast.
Yeah, he'd have to win someplace like Oregon or Washington as we go forward here. Our best to Nicole Wallace, and thanks to her for joining us tonight. Let me turn now, Carl, thank you too, of course, to our panel. I want to get back to this question now. Of course, first of all, there is a call to be made for John McCain here in the state of Louisiana. This was never really a battleground state, but it was one obviously that McCain needed to have, another red state that has stayed red at least this time, which might tell us a little bit about the Senate race there, where Mary Landrieu, the incumbent Democrat, is. One race we can call now in the presidential race is Mississippi. We declared John McCain the winner there. We await with some interest, of course, the result of the Senate race there, which remains too close to call. But if it went Republican, and Roger Wicker is the incumbent, if it went Republican, would end the Democrats' chances of getting to the magical 60-vote, no filibuster majority. There you see our electoral map there, the current state of the electoral count. This is 207-135 for Obama. Important to know that among the ingredients of that 207 are such states as Ohio and Pennsylvania, as well as as Iowa and New Mexico, which are like Ohio, red states that Obama has turned in his direction, depriving McCain of what he really would have needed.
Way to ask the question. I think it's a pretty good way to ask the question. McCain does slightly better among those who say Palin was an important factor in the vote than those who say she was not. In other words, it seems from this that Palin was a slight net plus.
Because we were discussing this earlier, and we were concerned about numbers which showed that voters were disapproved of her, thought she might not be qualified to be president, and we were concerned that we didn't seem to have a way at that point to measure the intensity of that. In other words, whether the people who thought that really cared very much about it at all. It appears now from what you're saying is those who thought it was important favored McCain narrowly, and those who thought it was important favored Obama more narrowly than those who thought it was unimportant. McCain added a couple of points to his vote, 4 points to his vote, apparently, with those who thought Palin was important. So she slightly helped McCain, not enough. Those who thought it was important still preferred Obama, but more narrowly than those who thought Palin was unimportant. So
but my sense
it doesn't prove much, but I mean, because
my sense of that, though, is that that's the base, and that's what she did. I mean, if you were to give credit to Sarah Palin during the course of this contest, it's for stirring the passion.
Let me just say
of
this:
the base.
In the exit poll, Obama's beating McCain by 10. Among those who say Palin was an important factor, Obama's beating McCain by 6. So it can't be that Palin's only appealing to the base. If those who say Palin's an important factor, McCain does better with them than among the pure McCain vote.
Well, look, if you ask them, is Sarah Palin qualified to be president, should it become necessary, 60% say she's not.
I know that one.
She wasn't running for president.
But I'm saying, you talk about an indication of experience.
Well, fine, I'm not...
And these are the kind of people that, if Republicans are going to recover, those are the ones they're going to have to get, and a lot more of them.
We got a little call to make here. Now, this is Nebraska. We're calling for Senator McCain. We're allocating 3 of the 5 electoral votes to him right now from that state. That's a state that does not have a winner-take-all system. So it appears McCain, by virtue of, well, you see it's 52-46 now. Where we project he'll end up, he'll get 3 of the 5. That's one of the few states in the country where it's not winner-take-all in the electoral votes. In the meantime, let's check in with a balance of power report from Brett Baer, who's keeping an eye on the House of Representatives. Brett?
Hey, Brett, we have a number of races that Fox News can now project, and they are seeing some turnovers in the parties that are holding those seats. First, a bit of a surprise for Republicans. Chris Shays going down in Connecticut 4. They really hoped that Chris Shays could hold on to this seat, but Jim Himes, the Democrat, picks it up. Shays had 2 close races. The last 2 races he had, he was going for his 11th term. He falls and now will not return to the House of Representatives. Kentucky 3rd. This is Louisville, Kentucky, a district that encompasses the whole city there. Representative John Yarmouth.
Okay, we got the next wave of poll closings comes in about 18 minutes and 53 seconds, as I say that. You can tell I'm smart. I can read it off the screen just like you can. We do, however, have a state to call we've been holding back on low these many hours, and that is the Old Dominion, the state of Virginia. Fox News now projects, even though we don't have the check mark ready yet, that Barack Obama has carried the state of Virginia. That's the first time that has happened for a Democrat in, 44 years since Lyndon Johnson. There it is. There it is, the check mark, since Lyndon Johnson won that tremendous landslide over Barry Goldwater all those years ago. A tremendous achievement, obviously, for Barack Obama, having peeled off a state that not too many years ago people would have thought would be not only difficult, if not impossible for a Democrat, but very difficult indeed for an African-American Democrat. That state, since those days, of course, has had an African-American governor, and now it has lent its weight to the prospect of an African-American president. Let's talk a little bit further here about some of these issues that we've been discussing all night, and I'm particularly interested in rolling over to Chris and Carl here to get some insights on this argument we've been having, or discussion we've been having, about center-right versus center-left country. Carl Rove, your thoughts?
It is a center-right country. If you take a look, for example, at the recent Fox poll and other polls, people want less taxes and smaller government, even during the time of economic stress that we're going through. I saw a poll today, for example. It was taken over the last 3 days, and
problem because we haven't done that.
All right, Congressman, very interesting. Thanks a lot for taking the time with us. Glad to talk to you, sir. We can now call the state of South Dakota for John McCain. That obviously will be some little limited welcome news for him.
And that speaks to all parts of our government, our entitlement explosion, our debt, our tax code itself. We're not for just cutting taxes. We're for reforming the whole tax system to make sure that America is more prosperous in the 21st century than we were in the 20th century. These are the kinds of big ideas. Earmarks is a symptom. The problem is we went big government, and we've got to get out of that. and we've got to be the entrepreneurial Reagan party we were. Take those principles, apply them to today's problems, and go straight to the American people with them, and not be afraid to do so. And that has been our problem because we haven't done that.
All right, Congressman, very interesting. Thanks a lot for taking the time with us. Glad to talk to you, sir. We can now call the state of South Dakota for John McCain. That obviously will be some little limited welcome news for him late on an election night when his own people are saying that they cannot see and have not been able for some hours to see any path that would take them to victory. So we're coming up on 11 o'clock, and as we do when we're approaching an hour, let's turn to Bill Hemmer and his magic map to see what's coming up at 11. Bill?
Hey, Britt, good evening again. 11 o'clock on the East Coast, 8 a.m. on the West Coast. In a matter of moments here, 3 minutes and 20 seconds, as a matter of fact, 81 electoral votes at stake. And the big chunk of the pie coming from the Golden State in California, 55 electoral votes. Now, when we started this night, Britt, we did a little what-if scenario. We did a baseline for the electoral votes that we believe are projected for Barack Obama and John McCain. At the moment, Barack Obama's at 220. John McCain's at 141. On this ledger, you can see in the upper corner just how far we've gone, or have we come actually throughout the night. Barack Obama's here. He needs to get to 270. He is awful darn close. And just for the sake of this discussion here, if you go to our what if column, you go to our what if, and now you're looking at Obama here in California. If he were to take that state, that would put him over the top. Now, polls are still open, a couple more minutes to go, but that's a what if scenario that we laid out at the beginning of the night. And at the moment, pending the outcome in California, this may turn out to be a very good night for Barack Obama, pending the outcome there in California. Britt, the other thing we looked at earlier in the night was the counties in Northern Virginia. This was an area that John McCain knew he had to keep the overall vote total down and try and offset some of the strength for Barack Obama. Boy, we can drill down at some of these counties here. Fairfax County, that went for John Kerry 4 years ago. Not much of a surprise here, but Loudoun County, it's going for Barack Obama. Prince William County, similar story. Barack Obama up 11 points. And now you start to see how this state of Virginia was called for Senator Obama just moments ago. Again, poll closing coming up here, 11 o'clock on the East Coast. What about a minute 29 for my friend Britt Hume to fill now?
In fact, I live out in that area near Loudoun County, Bill, and I can say that that is a county that is rapidly changing with a growing influx of new residents, many of them working for the technology companies that have been built in such number out near Dulles Airport and out in that direction. That's all out west of Dulles Airport and so forth. And so that's a place where you really do see the changing politics reflecting changing demographics.
You know,
and I think that's a story in many parts of the country where Barack Obama's doing well tonight.
To make the point, just watch the map go from red to blue and blue to red. This is 2004. This is 2000. Look how well George Bush was doing that year, 8 years ago, in all these northern 6 or 7 counties in Virginia. You come to 2008, and really at the moment, it's a Democratic sweep in these northern 6 counties, and there's your margin of difference in many respects for the state of Virginia. Point well taken, Britt.
All right, Bill. Now, of course, we're coming up on what could be a climactic moment here because in just about 25 seconds, the polls will be closed in the state of California. This, of course, is a state which neither candidate contested. McCain because he didn't think he had any hope, and Obama because he didn't think he had any need. This was a state that was like the other 2 states out on the far west coast. We approach the hour. We're about to tell you something that you may have recognized was inevitable. It's now 11 o'clock. We project California for Barack Obama. That will change our electoral board from 220 votes to 275 and make Barack Obama, in our view, President-elect of the United States of America. That, of course, is the scene in Grant Park out in Chicago where as you can see, a large throng has gathered and has been waiting for a moment here because in just about 25 seconds, the polls will be closed in the state of California. This, of course, is a state which neither candidate contested. McCain because he didn't think he had any hope, and Obama because he didn't think he had any need. This was a state that was like the other 2 states out on the far west coast. We approach the hour. We're about to tell you something that you may have recognized was inevitable. It's now 11 o'clock. We project California for Barack Obama. That will change our electoral board from 220 votes to 275 and make Barack Obama, in our view, President-elect of the United States of America. That, of course, is the scene in Grant Park out in Chicago, where as you can see, a large throng has gathered and has been waiting for some hours to hear this news. They came obviously expecting it on what turned out to be a remarkably balmy night for early November in the Midwest. And there you see flash bulbs popping, American flags in the breeze, and people jumping up and down, applauding and yelling with joy that their man, Barack Obama, a hometown boy, at least an adopted hometown boy, has been elected the 44th President of the United States as of 11 o'clock this night, 10 p.m., of course, as you see it on the screen, Chicago time. In a moment, we're going to want to check in with Major Garrett for his reflections on that. But before we do, I want to turn to our panel who have been with me all through the course of this year and in previous election cycles for their thoughts on a moment of history. It is always historic when a new president is elected, this year especially so. Your thoughts, first of all, Juan Williams.
Well, it's just stunning. It's a stirring sight, but it's incomprehensible. Even a year ago, I wouldn't have thought this possible, that an African-American man could be elected president of the United States. And
We do have one state we can call, Bill. This will be no surprise, and it's actually already turned up on your map red, and that is the state of Texas for John McCain. The polls closed there at, 9 o'clock, so that was one. Nobody went there. Big state, you'd think somebody would have gone, but it was pretty clear that Obama wasn't going to turn it, and McCain didn't need to go, and so he didn't. We're now 15 seconds away from the 10 p.m. closing, and as we've mentioned, there's some big ones at 10 o'clock. To see if we'll have a chance to call that. It appears at this point that we're not going to be able to call that at 10, but we can call Utah for John McCain and Iowa. No great surprise, although it's a switch for Barack Obama. And it is because of states like that, those two, that Iowa and also New Mexico, that John McCain needed, in Virginia and other states where he was challenged, that John McCain needed to rush into Pennsylvania and try to pull something off. So it's not 10. We do have a gubernatorial call we can make also in the state of Utah. We're calling that for, let's see if we can get a board up on the Utah governorship. Polls are closed now there. Well, anyway, the Republican huntsman, incumbent, I believe, has won election to the governorship in Utah. Let's turn for more on the Senate races to Chris Wallace. Chris?
Thank you, but I got to say, sitting next to Karl Rove is a bit of a trip when you announced that Texas had gone for George Bush, for John McCain. Karl is sitting next to me. Go ahead, do what you were doing. He was doing hook 'em horns. Oh boy, it's always interesting with Karl. Have a cookie, Karl. Anyway, we got 4 races to call for you in the Senate, and there's one.
One race we can call now in the presidential race is Mississippi. We declared John McCain the winner there. We await with some interest, of course, the result of the Senate race there, which remains too close to call. But if it went Republican, and Roger Wicker is the incumbent, if it went Republican, would end the Democrats' chances of getting to the magical 60-vote, no filibuster majority. There you see our electoral map there, the current state of the electoral count. This is 207-135 for Obama. Important to know that part of we got a little call to make here. Now, this is Nebraska. We're calling for Senator McCain. We're allocating 3 of the 5 electoral votes to him right now from that state. That's a state that does not have a winner-take-all system. So it appears McCain, by virtue of, well, you see it's 52-46 now. Where we project he'll end up, he'll get 3 of the 5. That's one of the few states in the country where it's not winner-take-all in the electoral votes. Okay, we got the next wave of poll closings comes in about 18 minutes and 53 seconds, as I say that. You can tell I'm smart. I can read it off the screen just like you can. We do, however, have a state to call we've been holding back on low these many hours, and that is the Old Dominion, the state of Virginia. Fox News now projects, even though we don't have the check mark ready yet, that Barack Obama has carried the state of Virginia. That's the first time that has happened for a Democrat in, 44 years since Lyndon Johnson. There it is. There it is, the check mark, since Lyndon Johnson won that tremendous landslide over Barry Goldwater all those years ago. A tremendous achievement, obviously, for Barack Obama, having peeled off a state that not too many years ago people would have thought would be not only difficult, if not impossible for a Democrat, but very difficult indeed for an African-American Democrat. That state, since those days, of course, has had an African-American governor, and now it has lent its weight to the prospect of an African-American president. Let's talk a little bit further here about some of these issues that we've been discussing all night, and I'm particularly interested in rolling over to Chris and Carl here to get some insights on. We can now call the state of South Dakota for John McCain. That obviously will be some little limited welcome news for him late on an election night when his own people are saying that they cannot see and have not been able for some hours to see any path that would take them to victory. So we're coming up on 11 o'clock, and as we do when we're approaching an hour, let's turn to Bill Hemmer and his magic map to see what's coming up at 11. Approach the hour, we're about to tell you something that you may have recognized as inevitable. It's now 11 o'clock. We project California for Barack Obama. That will change our electoral board from 220 votes to 275 and make Barack Obama, in our view, President-elect of the United States of America. Of course, is the scene in Grant Park out in Chicago, where, as you can see, a large throng has gathered and has been waiting for some hours to hear this news. They came obviously expecting it on what turned out to be a remarkably balmy night for early November in the Midwest. And there you see flash bulbs popping, American flags in the breeze, and people jumping up and down, applauding and yelling with joy that their man, Barack Obama, a hometown boy, at least an adopted hometown boy, has been elected the 44th president of the United States as of 11 o'clock this night, 10 p.m., of course, as you see it on the screen, Chicago time. In a moment, we're going to want to check in with Major Garrett for his reflections on that, but before we do, I want to turn to our panel who have been with me all through the course of this year and in previous election cycles for their thoughts on a moment of history. It is always historic when a new president is elected, this year especially so. Your thoughts, first of all, Juan Williams.
It's 2:22 on the East Coast in the morning, Wednesday morning, and Fox News can now make a projection that Indiana will in fact go for Barack Obama, the state of Indiana that he had been fighting for. He will, in fact, get the electoral votes from Indiana, a big win for the Obama campaign.